The suspension arm on a 2005 Ford Focus costs £120 to replace. Steel, straightforward, bolts off and bolts on at any independent garage in the country. A replacement lower arm on a 2019 Mercedes E-Class costs between £400 and £800 at an independent specialist. Main dealer quotes run past £1,500. The part doing the exact same job now costs 6 times more, fails years earlier, and in some cases, literally separates from the car while you're driving. Suspension faults account for 9% of all MOT failures in the UK, according to 2024 and 2025 DVSA data. That figure hasn't fallen as cars have gotten newer and more sophisticated. The Tesla Model 3, a car that costs upwards of £40,000 new, finished last in the 2024 TÜV report, Germany's version of our MOT, for 2 to 3-year-old cars, with a 14.7% failure rate. Predominantly suspension and control arms on a car barely run in. The weight saving that justified switching from steel to aluminium is real, roughly 40% lighter per arm. That saving helped manufacturers hit EU emissions targets on paper. The repair bill when aluminium meets UK road salt, which it always does, lands entirely on the owner. 4 manufacturers, 4 documented failures, 1 design decision that transferred costs from the factory to your driveway. If you drive a BMW 3 Series, Audi A4 or A6, Mercedes E-Class, Tesla Model 3, Jaguar F-Pace or XE, stay with this. What your manufacturer's technical bulletins say about your suspension is not what the sales brochure told you. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell, because this channel publishes what manufacturers put in internal documents and hope stays there. Steel suspension arms have been a standard component in European cars since the 1960s. They corrode slowly over time, they wear at predictable rates, and when they fail, the failure is gradual enough that a component MOT tester catches it before it becomes dangerous. Replacement costs reflect the simplicity of the part. Steel fabricated to shape, rubber bushings pressed in, ball joint at one end. An independent garage handles the job in an hour. The part costs £60 to £100. Total bill £120 to £180. The switch to aluminium began in earnest through the 2000s and accelerated sharply from around 2012 onwards, as EU fleet average emissions targets tightened and manufacturers sought weight reductions across every component. Aluminium delivers roughly a 40% mass reduction on a typical control arm, dropping a steel pair from around 8 kilos to approximately 4.3 kilos. Multiply that savings across 4 corners of a car, add in aluminium subframes and knuckles on premium models, and the weight reduction contributes meaningfully to the CO2 figure that determines whether a model is viable to sell in Europe at all. The engineering case for aluminium is legitimate. The problem isn't the material. The problem is what happens when aluminium suspension arms secured with steel fasteners are repeatedly coated in sodium chloride solution every winter on UK roads, and what manufacturers chose not to engineer around it. Galvanic corrosion requires 3 things: 2 dissimilar metals in contact and an electrolyte bridging them. On a dry car in a dry climate, aluminium arms bolted through steel hardware sit passively. No electrolyte, no reaction, no problem. SAE International Engineering papers published as far back as 2010, specifically paper 2010-01-0724, modeled the galvanic corrosion rates between iron and aluminium chassis components in exactly this configuration, predicting accelerated aluminium degradation wherever road salt could bridge the 2 metals. UK winter road maintenance relies on sodium chloride. Salt dissolved in water creates a highly conductive electrolyte. That solution coats the underside of every car on UK roads from November through March, pooling in the recesses of suspension components, filling the gap between aluminium arm and steel bolt, completing the galvanic circuit. The aluminium acts as an anode, the sacrificial metal, and corrodes preferentially at precisely the points of highest structural stress, around bolt holes and ball joint housings. It doesn't bloom into obvious flaky rust that an MOT tester can spot from 6 feet away with a torch. It arrives as hidden internal degradation at the joint interfaces, progressing invisibly until the component is compromised. By the time the car presents symptoms, a clunk over speed bumps, vague steering, a knock at low speed on a car barely 6 years old, the structural damage is already significant. The owner books an MOT expecting an advisory on a brake disc or a headlight alignment issue. The tester lifts the car, checks the arms, and the conversation changes. Manufacturers knew this mechanism. The SAE papers preceded most of the model launches covered in this video by several years. The engineering decision wasn't ignorance. It was a calculation that the weight saving, the emissions compliance, and the improved handling characteristics justified the material, and that the corrosion consequences would arrive outside the warranty period, on cars that had changed hands at least once, belonging to owners who had no manufacturer relationship left to pursue and no recourse beyond paying the bill. The DVSA's MOT failure data captures the outcome of that calculation. 9% of all UK MOT failures originate from suspension faults, springs, shock absorbers, and arms. That figure held steady through a period when vehicle safety technology was improving across every other category. Newer cars, on average, pass more MOT categories than older ones. The suspension failure rate didn't fall. On some model lines, it rose. The BMW 3 Series G20, the current generation launched in 2019, develops a characteristic knocking or clunking from the front suspension at low speed. Over speed bumps, on uneven road surfaces, the sound is specific enough that BMW technicians recognize it immediately, because BMW issued service information bulletins addressing it. SIB 31-01-20 mandates replacement of the front lower wishbone or tension strut. SIB 32-01-23 covers the front tie rods. Two separate bulletins targeting two separate components on the same axle of a car that launched 6 years ago and still appears in BMW's current range. These are internal documents. They are how a manufacturer communicates a known fix to its dealer network without issuing a public recall. The owner of a G23 series with a knocking front end has no automatic right to know that BMW's own technical department identified the cause and prescribed the replacement. If the car is within its warranty or service plan, a dealer visit should surface the bulletin and the fix happens undercover. If the car is out of warranty, which for a 2019 or 2023 series it is now, the owner pays for the diagnosis, the parts, and the labor without any indication that BMW's own engineers already knew what needed replacing and when. The bulletin system works precisely as intended. It resolves failure in dealer-serviced in-warranty vehicles, and it is invisible to everyone else. Replacement costs for the front suspension arms on a G23 series at an independent specialist, £400 to £600 per axle. At a BMW main dealer, where the bulletin was always known and acted upon for warranty cars, considerably more for out-of-warranty owners who fund the same repair themselves. Audi's approach to front suspension on the B9A4, launched in 2015, and the C8A6 uses 4 control arms per corner. The complexity delivers the handling precision Audi markets the cars on. It also means 4 separate components per corner that can wear, 4 sets of bushings that degrade, 4 ball joints that corrode. When the suspension develops vagueness or clunking on the B9 and C8, the diagnosis frequently involves multiple worn components rather than one, which means the repair involves multiple replacements rather than one. Audi issued TSB 402354 specifically addressing creaking and squeaking from the lower control arm and bushing on uneven road surfaces across models sharing this architecture. The bulletin originated in the US market, where the aluminium multi-link failures generated enough volume to require a formal response. The underlying engineering is identical across markets. The same arms, the same bushings, the same failure mechanism, on roads that are, if anything, harder on suspension components than American ones. For B9A4 and C8A6 owners in the UK, independent specialists report front suspension arm replacement bills running from £500 to £900 per axle, depending on how many components require changing. The labour on a 4-arm per corner architecture takes considerably longer than on a conventional setup, and the parts cost more, because Audi's aluminium components don't have the aftermarket supply base that steel parts accumulated over decades. The aftermarket response to the Mercedes E-Class W213 says more about the factory component than any other internal bulletin does. MEYLE, one of Europe's largest independent parts manufacturers, whose catalogue covers thousands of vehicles, looked to the W213 front suspension control arms and concluded the OEM parts weren't good enough. They engineered an HD replacement, heavier duty, larger ball joint diameter, better heat-treated materials, specifically designed to outlast the factory Mercedes components. MEYLE publishes this comparison. The failure rate of the original arms is the commercial justification for the upgraded product's existence. The W213 E-Class launched in 2016. Owners across the UK report premature wear of the front control arm bushings and ball joints, loose steering feel, clunking on corner entry, MOT advisories escalating to MOT failures within 5 to 8 years of registration. On a car that retails from £45,000 new, the expectation of suspension longevity is not unreasonable. The reality, as MEYLE's entire product line implicitly acknowledges, is that the factory parts don't deliver it. Replacement cost at an independent UK specialist using MEYLE HD components, £400 to £700 per axle. Main dealer quote using OEM Mercedes parts, the same parts MEYLE concluded required redesigning, £1,200 to £1,600. Tesla's response to the Model 3 suspension problem deserves its own section, because the technical solution they arrived at is instructive about how seriously the issue was taken. The Model 3 front upper control arm ball joint seals allow water and road salt to pool inside the joint housing. The result is rapid surface corrosion, audible creaking that owners describe as constant over British road surfaces, and premature structural failure. The 2024 TEV report ranked the Model 3 last among all vehicles in the 2 to 3 year age bracket, a 14.7% failure rate, with suspension identified as the primary failure category. Germany's TEV inspection is their version of our MOT, and it is not a lenient test. On a car built since 2019 and costing upwards of £40,000, finishing last in a rigorous independent inspection for suspension failures isn't a statistical anomaly. It's a design problem arriving ahead of schedule. Tesla's response was a technical service bulletin, not a recall, not a redesign component, a TSB instructing technicians to reseal the area around the ball joints using urethane, to cork the gap that was allowing water ingress in the first place. The official manufacturer fix for a structural suspension component on a £40,000 plus car is a tube of sealant applied at the dealer. The TSB addresses the symptom, water getting into the joint, without addressing the root cause, which is a seal design that allows water ingress under normal operating conditions on normal UK roads. Owners whose ball joints have already corroded past the point of resealing require component replacement. The resealing fix applies to joints that haven't yet failed. For owners who present with the creaking after corrosion has established itself, the bill is for replacement parts at Tesla parts pricing, which sits considerably above the aftermarket alternatives available for conventional suspension designs. The most serious failure in this video isn't corrosion related. It's a manufacturing process that resulted in a safety recall, and it came from the manufacturer that has spent more on aluminium chassis engineering than almost any other in the industry. Jaguar Land Rover issued UK recall R/2016/290 for the Jaguar F-Pace, XE and XF. The reason: the clamp bolt securing the front lower control arm to the suspension knuckle has been incorrectly torqued during production. An under-torqued clamp bolt in an aluminium to aluminium joint doesn't hold the same way an under-torqued bolt in a steel joint would. The aluminium deforms under load rather than holding position. Under the fatigue of normal driving, braking, cornering, road surface impacts, the joint progressively degrades until the suspension component separates. Suspension separation at speed is not a gradual failure a driver can feel developing and respond to. It is a sudden, complete loss of wheel geometry. The car doesn't handle badly. It doesn't handle at all. In the United States, JLR recalled over 121,000 Range Rover and Range Rover Sport models for cracking aluminium front suspension knuckles under stress loading. The UK recall covered the F-Pace, XE and XF under a separate but related campaign. Jaguar Land Rover's commitment to aluminium construction, the entire Jaguar XE platform is aluminium intensive, is a genuine engineering achievement in terms of weight reduction and chassis stiffness. The recall record suggests the tolerance for manufacturing variation in aluminium suspension assemblies is considerably less forgiving than in steel equivalents, and that when those tolerances are missed, the consequences are more severe. For anyone buying a used F-Pace, XE or XF, confirm the recall R/2016/290 was completed before the car changed hands. The check takes 2 minutes on the DVSA recall database at gov.uk using the vehicle's registration number. If the recall hasn't been actioned, and on privately sold used cars, this is not a safe assumption, the seller carries a legal obligation under UK consumer law to disclose outstanding safety recalls. That obligation doesn't reliably translate into disclosure at the point of a private sale. The car gets advertised, the viewer doesn't know to ask, the recall sits outstanding, and the new owner drives away in a vehicle with a documented suspension separation risk that the previous owner chose not to mention. Check it before you hand over your money. 2 minutes. It costs nothing. Put these 4 manufacturers together and the pattern that emerges isn't coincidence or isolated engineering failure. It's an industry-wide calculation. The weight saving from aluminium suspension is real, 40% per component multiplied across the car, contributing to CO2 compliance numbers that determine whether a model is legal to sell in Europe. That saving costs manufacturers nothing at the point of production. The corrosion consequences cost the owner between £400 and £1,500 per axle, arriving between 5 and 10 years into the car's life, reliably outside the warranty period, reliably after the first owner moved on, reliably landing on whoever holds the logbook when the MOT tester lifts the car and checks the arms. Suspension failures account for 9% of all UK MOT failures. Steel arms on a 2005 Focus or a 2003 Mondeo corrode slowly, failed predictably, and cost £150 to fix. The aluminium arms on a 2019 3 Series or 2016 E-Class corrode at the joints, fail at the bushings, and cost £600 to fix, on a car that costs 4 times as much to buy. The mechanic who built the cheaper car in 2005 didn't design it to last. The manufacturer who built the expensive one in 2019 didn't design it to be repaired affordably. Both outcomes serve the same interest, and neither of them was yours. Before the next MOT, get underneath the car and look at the front suspension arms. If they're aluminium, bare metal, often with a slight silver sheen rather than a dull grey of steel, check the bolt holes for white powdery deposits, check the ball joint housings for surface corrosion, and check for any play in the joint by rocking the wheel. An advisory now is a repair at a price you can plan for. A failure at the MOT is a repair at a price you can't. Which car is it? What did the MOT test to find, and what did the dealer tell you when you bought it? Share it below, because the pattern that's invisible in one owner's experience becomes undeniable when this community maps it together.